Hello, everybody. What is going on? You amazing, awesome, beautiful people. I'm back with episode 2 of The Finer Things. Now, this is a very new podcast, new video podcast that I myself am hosting, Ereanna Aulese. So I know that it's not very well known. I know you guys don't really know much about it. So let me go ahead and give you a gist and rundown of what this podcast is about and what is to come later on in the show. First things, The Finer Things is a pop culture podcast that revolves around all things pop culture, that being music, fashion, films, series, anything that has to do within the media outlet world. That is what this podcast is all about. Reviewing items, speaking about lifestyle, rating trends, rating albums and artists and music, all things pop culture that you see in today's era is exactly what this pop culture podcast, The Finer Things, is all about. Jeez, I said pop culture a lot, didn't I? That was a lot of times I said pop culture. Pop, pop, pop. I make myself laugh. Okay, so again, that is kind of what this podcast is all about. Not to mention, at the end of these podcast videos, we will have special interviews with guests who are upcoming in the DFW area. Again, it's a pop culture, so that meaning anything in the media outlets. So any artists, any musicians, any directors, any fashion, um, any fashion lines that people may have coming out, or any kind of thing that is in the media world. I will be interviewing local DFW media personas, and we'll be getting deeper at what they do, why they like to do it, and how far do they want to continue to pursue their career, or if they have other things in line and in store for them as well. Now, that is kind of what the gist is all about. This pop culture podcast, The Finer Things, is really about talking about all, of the culture and the trends and the eras today, but it's really also about me interviewing guests and having guests on the show and helping them and giving them a platform to share their work, share their music, share their art, share their talents, share their fashion brand, share anything that has to do with the media. That is really what this podcast is all about. Um, so yeah. Now, for today's show, we have our usual segments of a question of the day, what happened today in history, a lifestyle advice column, and things like that. Our usual. So we're going to set the tone of the show and go on to our question of the day. Now, a question of the day, before we get into that, I will ask my question of the day on my Instagram before every episode, and I will ask it on my Instagram story. My Instagram, guys can follow me on, and follow me on all socials. That is Ereanna Aulese, spelled EreannaAulese. Now that is where I will be asking all my questions of the days, or that is where I will be taking any questions from you guys that you have for me. That being towards my lifestyle column, giving you guys some advice, or if you guys are wanting any kind of advice, that is where we'd be posting, comments like that where you can slide up and DM me, or if you know me personally, text me, and I will be giving my opinion and my thoughts on the show. Of course, any kind of information like that will be completely anonymous. Nobody will ever know who asked this question besides me, myself, and I. And it's just for me to give you guys my tone, my advice, and maybe it could help you, maybe it couldn't. Sometimes I'm kind of bad at even taking my own advice. So I don't know if you guys are too, but it's all right. Now, going on today. First things first, my question of the day. This question of the day I created myself because of a particular artist, R&B artist named Kiana Lede, who released her sophomore album on June 16th of this year. So about 11 days ago. Excuse me. Yeah, 11 days ago, she released her sophomore album, And let me just, before I review it, all I'm gonna say is that I loved it. But we're gonna get into that a little later. So, question of the day. Sorry. Sometimes you lose your train of thought. Which artist do you think has the best sophomore album? I asked that on my Instagram, and we got a few replies. Somebody said J. Cole. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you and say I have never listened to J. Cole's sophomore album, let alone his freshman album or any other albums he has after that. I grew up loving pop, for instance, is why this is a pop culture show. I grew up loving pop music. I was into like the normal hip hop on, 10 1079 The Beat. Things, mainstream media hip hop, not anything hardcore or anything like that. So I do know a few J. Cole songs, but I am not the biggest fan. And not to discredit him, I love J. Cole. I think he is an amazing performer, an amazing lyricism. He has great penmanship. He has great bars, and when you listen to his music, it's not he's just rapping about things that don't matter. That is a true artist, and that is an artist I definitely respect. It's just not an artist that I take into my genre of music or my favorite genre of music. But that also was from a long time ago. Now I'm very open. I have an eclectic taste in music, so you know what? I'm gonna go listen to J. Cole's sophomore album pretty soon. Here probably later. Just so I can see if I can agree with you or I don't agree with you. I don't know yet. But nonetheless, I love J. Cole, an amazing artist. Somebody else said SZA. Now, let me just say that SZA's sophomore album is completely incredible. I when it comes to a sophomore album, the artist needs their sophomore album to be equally as good as their debut album, or if not better. And SZA, there's a lot of controversy between her sophomore album and her debut album. SZA's debut album, I will say, definitely paved the way for her career and set the tone for her mainstream music with her singles on her freshman album. But her sophomore album, it is just completely amazing. I can't. It's hard for me to choose who I think had which album of hers was better, her freshman album or her sophomore album. It's really hard for me to choose. Now there's a controversy about that going around, and I don't have a side. I can't pick a side. It's just there. It's just amazing. So again, artists that drop their sophomore album, their debut album definitely sets a tone for who they are as an artist and the route that they are going with the genre of music. But it also, you don't want to release a debut album and not have your follow-up album, which is your sophomore album, be equally as good or better as that, because then it's just people are going to think you fell off, or now you don't know what you're doing or what route you want to go down. But I think SZA is amazing. Personally, I would say, I don't want to say they're the best because everybody has their own opinions, of course. But one of my favorite debut albums is Kehlani. Trying not. No, I'm sorry. That is complete. I was singing a song in my head that was not even Kehlani's song. It was from JoJo. But You Should Be Here, which is Kehlani's sophomore album. Amazing. Completely amazing. And artists like Kehlani, their albums just continue to get better, 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 and better. And I think that is exactly what she's doing. So, in my opinion, I would just say Kehlani. I don't want to say it's one of the best all around the world, but in my opinion, it is one of the best in my artists that I like. And so, yeah. Moving on to our next segment. Today in history. Today is National Pineapple Day. So let me just say, I love pineapple. Pineapple is my favorite fruit. and it will forever be my favorite fruit. So I hope you guys are eating your fruit. And if you don't like pineapple, then I don't like you. I'm just kidding. That's not true. Today in history, it is Tobey Maguire's birthday. It is June 27th, so it is Tobey Maguire's birthday. Our Spider-Man. We know him. We love him. The amazing Spider-Man himself. I just had a lisp when I said that. Oh my gosh. It's a tongue piercing. Sometimes I can't. But Tobey Maguire, it is his birthday today. Our amazing Spider-Man. The number one hit on June 27th in 1987 to July 10th was Whitney Houston's I Wanna Dance with Somebody. I love that song. I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat. Good song. I can't sing it the way Whitney Houston does, but you get the gist. You know what I'm talking about. Great song. And I don't want to say the number one movie, but in 2008, WALL-E was released today, June 27th. I can't do math, so I don't know what 23 minus 8 is. We're not going to do that. Now you guys know that I can't do math, but it's all right. I'm not ashamed about it. But yes, today in 2008, WALL-E was released in theaters. Amazing movie. I was obsessed with that movie. WALL-E. Sorry, sometimes I just say random things and I make myself laugh. But you know what? Today I might go rewatch WALL-E because I haven't seen it in a long time and I love WALL-E. Moving on to the next segment that we have. It is called the Listening Ear. Now this segment is how I stated earlier. It's a advice column type of gist where you guys will ask me for advice, or I might even ask you guys for advice about things that are going on in my personal life, and I just want to hear your input, and I will also speak about it. Now, again, you guys can DM me on Instagram at Ereanna Aulese. That is EreannaAulese, or if you know me personally, you can text me and a question, and I will answer that for you. Now, that being said, these questions that you guys ask me, or these answers that you guys give me, they are completely anonymous. Nobody will ever know who is asking this question besides me. I will not expose you. That's completely not okay. I don't think it's nice to put anybody else's business out there like that. So I will not do that to you guys. It'll just be between me and you. So, that being said, before you guys start asking me more things, somebody asked, does a relationship work better if the guy loves her more? That is, when I first heard this question, I said yes, without seeing any different sides. I didn't ask that question to you guys, so I don't know what you guys think about it. Somebody asked me, and so I'm just going to answer it myself and talk about what I think about on my own opinion. So, does a relationship work better if the guy loves her more? I don't think any relationship works better if one person loves the other person more than the other. I think there has to be an equal set of love towards each other in order for a relationship to work at all. But I can see why somebody would ask this question, because in today's era and time, it is that way. Cheating is so normalized nowadays that it's hard to date anybody, whether it's two women dating each other, two men dating each other, two non-binary people dating each other, two straight individuals dating each other. Cheating is just so normalized that when it comes to a straight relationship, I don't want to say yes completely without thinking about the other sides, but in my opinion, from what I've seen my friends in relationships, I will say I think the relationship does probably work better if a guy loves her just a little bit more. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that the guy is the only person that needs to show love, the only person that needs to show up for their partner, that the guy's the only person that needs to pay for everything. See that right there? We're not going to get too much into that because that's something for another time. Maybe I'll ask that again. Or maybe I'll ask that on on my Instagram story so I can actually hear your guys' opinion on it as well. But we're not going to get too deep into that. But when it comes to a straight couple, a man and a woman, and they're dating, 9 times out of 10, it probably will work better if the guy loves her a little more because, like I said, cheating is really normalized nowadays. And I'm not discriminating against men, but a lot of times I feel like men do cheat more than women. So in order for a woman to have that trust in a man and to open themselves up to a man, the guy definitely has to show her more love. That way the girl can love you back just as equally. Because I feel if a woman loves the guy more, the guy knows that they have her, that she's not gonna leave her. You know, a man could be dating a woman who does everything, cooks, cleans, takes care of the house, doesn't do anything but only caters to him. And if the guy doesn't love her as much, it's not gonna work. You know, he's gonna think, if a guy knows that a girl loves him more than he loves her, oh, for 110%, he's gonna think that he can control her, that he can do all these things, and that he has her in his pocket. But when it's the other way, and I'm not trying to be, two-minded here or anything like that, but if it's the other way around, majority of the time, guys tend to, I don't know, it's really hard to say. I would have to hear your guys' opinion on this too. But in my opinion, I think both partners in a relationship, whether that's straight or anything like that, no matter what couple it is, I think both partners should love each other equally, no matter what. Maybe the guy does. Maybe in this era today, the guy does have to love the girl a little more just so the girl feels secure and safe and actually loved rather than just played, if that makes any sense. So I'll ask you guys this question and I will see your guys' input and we'll see. So that is what we had for the listening ear today. Moving on. So, as I stated earlier, Kiana Lede released her sophomore album called Grudges. Now, if you don't know who Kiana Lede is an R&B artist, and she has been around for a minute. I know she's been in some TV shows, and now is really stating her impact in music and in R&B. I think my review and my intake on this album, a lot of people today say that R&B isn't the same anymore, and I will say it's not the same. It doesn't have the same type of umph in it that maybe early 2000s R&B or 90s R&B have or had, but it's slightly a little different. And there's only a few artists, in my opinion, that I believe can really hit that old R&B mixed with that new R&B. Those artists to me, Kiana Lede, Victoria Monet, Kehlani, even Bruno Mars. He dabbles, he was very much a pop guy. Now he's trickling down into his R&B flavorful style. And Kiana Lede did that exact thing in this album. And she does that exact thing in any project that she puts out. Her album Grudges, her sophomore album, talks about holding on to grudges and, not really letting them go, but also finding her way to let them go, but still has, a grudge that she's holding on to. And you hear that in this album from the first title being called, or from the first track being called Bitter, to her last two on the album named Closure. You see in this album how she definitely has grown from the beginning of the album to the end of the album. You know, in the song Bitter, you see how she really is bitter about being hurt, or how her ex-boyfriend hurt her. Toward the end, you hear her getting the closure that she needs in order to officially move on. But just because she moved on and healed from it doesn't mean she's still not holding a grudge from everything that she has been through, or everything that this person has put her through. She's just grown up. And you can really tell that she pours her heart and her feelings into this album. It is an amazing album. It is tender, it is sweet, but it's also, she has some funny little audio clips in there that really make the album and really help her gain her confidence back towards the end of the album. And it's just an amazing album. So I really recommend that you guys listen to it. In my opinion, I think it's better than her freshman album. And that's hard to do. That is really hard to do, because a lot of people, actually, I take that back. A lot of people, when they release albums, they just get better, 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 and better. But if we're only talking about a freshman and a sophomore album, those two, you have to nail and hit the park on both of those two in order to kind of maintain your fan base. And I'm not saying you can't switch up. I know a lot of artists who have kind of switched genres, like Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato. They've kind of, even Machine Gun Kelly, they've started here in this album, or in this particular genre, and then they drifted into these other routes and explored and played in different kind of genres, but it fits them. And now, going back to Kiana Lede, she definitely switched up just a little bit from her EP to her freshman album Kiki to now her sophomore album Grudges. You can just hear the growth and the confidence that she has as she continues to make more music and drop albums. But it's still very much an R&B feel, and I love it. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's an amazing album, and I love it so much. I know I've said that so many times, but that's kind of all that I can say, is that I just love it, and I really recommend that you guys listen to it on repeat. And I feel like a lot of you guys can relate to this album. I know I can relate to the album. I definitely can. So if I can relate to it, I know for a fact there's definitely a lot of you guys out there that can relate to it as well as me. So moving on now to top tier list. Since I was just talking about Kiana Lede's album, Grudges, I will continue on with the lists of my top 3 songs from that album. Now, my number 1, I will say, is Bitter. It's not just called Bitter, it's called Bitter B, but I'm not going to say that word, obviously. But it's called Bitter, and that is the opener of the album. So like I said, you hear in this song that she is bitter. She's a bitter person. She's a bitter woman because of the things that her ex have done to her, and she's not ashamed to say it. She's openly saying that she's bitter, and that, she hates that you did this, and hates how you made her feel, and that she kind of wants nothing to do with you anymore, that she's bitter about it. She's angry. She's mad. And the song, you would think it's like hard or anything in your face, but it's not. It's very lovely. It's a nice, sweet melody, and it's just beautiful. It's an amazing opening song. So I think it's great. My number 2 pick on the album is Irresponsible. Now, this song talks about 2 people who dated, who were irresponsible, hence the song, and they shouldn't have dated in the first place, but they did. They tried to make it work, but, one of them just kind of was in it more than her. or the person that she was into was just basically played her. And so the song talks about her and this person. They start dating, they start getting to know each other, and she feels that that person has wasted her time, which was very irresponsible of them because she probably told him from the get-go that what she wanted. And he or she, I don't know what person, but this person completely didn't care, overlooked it, treated it as nothing, and she feels that it was just very irresponsible of them because she told him what she wanted. And they made it seem that they wanted it that way too, but in the end all they did was just play her. And that who you know that's all this era is when it comes to dating. We're not going to get too much into that, but I will say that it's a great song. It's a great anthem for how people in today's era are when they start dating or they're in the dating scene. It's a lot of people are very irresponsible when it comes to dating because they don't think about how their actions affect others. They just kind of depart either in a ghosting way or it's not really a reason. Now, I'm not saying anything has to be validated or people have to have, permission to depart, but I think the right thing to do is whenever you don't like somebody to tell them straight up. And that's exactly what Kiana was talking about in this song. And look at me. I said I wasn't going to get into it, but I am. So, yeah. And my last top 3 from this album is a track called Jealous featuring LMA. LMA is also another amazing R&B artist. Jealous, this track talks about, being jealous, how she talks about how she really doesn't care, but she also cares at the same time. I think we all can relate to that because me personally, sometimes I'll pretend like I don't care, but in reality, I am screaming, crying, and throwing up at the edge of my bed. I care a lot. And that's exactly what this track is talking about. Talking about how maybe this other person has moved on and she's jealous about it, but she also doesn't care. But at the same time, she's like, who's that? Oh my God, that's so me. Literally me. I think she read my diary or something because what in the heck? LMA, their vocals on this, Kiana and Ella, both their vocals on this track completely merge. It's just smooth like butter. It's amazing. It's just sweet. It's silk. It's smooth. Kiana's really belting her heart and soul. You can feel the passion in this song, and you can feel the passion that she has in her vocals throughout this entire album. And I really think that it is a real, raw, authentic album. And that is why I say it is a 10 out of 10. So that is everything I have for you guys today. Oh, actually, I completely lied. No, it's not. I forgot. Trends. And we're going to make this quick. Trends, hot or not. The trend that I have for you guys today is jorts. Do you guys think jorts are, yeah? Or do you think jorts is, no? Frankly, I think jorts are coming back. Back in the day, it was a yeah. Maybe in like the 2010s, no. Now in 2020 or 2023 in the 2020s, it is completely a fashion statement now. But you have to learn how to dress it. So I want to make it quick. So I say jorts is a yeah for me, and that's our fashion. You see why I say that this pop culture show has elements of everything. We got fashion, we have ratings of music, or movies, and lifestyle. So that is what a pop culture show is, and that's what this pop culture podcast is all about. It's just about hitting all the elements, not all of them, but hitting the major elements of pop culture. But that is it for today's episode, guys. Make sure you tune in to our next episode, or my next episode, because I will have a guest on this show, and I will be interviewing them, and I will be interviewing my first guest for the first time on the show. So it's going to be fun, and it's going to be awesome and amazing, and I'm really excited. So if you stayed and you watched, thank you for watching. And if you are going to continue to watch, then I thank you in advance for continuously watching this episode in this show. That being said, I'm Ereanna Aulese. Make sure you follow me on Instagram again at Ereanna Aulese, TikTok at Ereanna Aulese, Twitter, Ereanna Aulese. All my handles on all social platforms are the exact same. So you better follow me, answer the questions that I ask you guys, or ask me questions that you would like my opinion on. That being said, make sure you guys continue to love always, and I will see you guys next time.